Hi everybody, welcome to Reality Buzz TV, where we talk about all things reality TV shows and all things reality TV show stars. So, in this last episode of Nandi and the Rev, which was episode 12, you remember when, like a few episodes ago, when I said that I'm not sure if Nandi and the Rev got back together because they wanted to be back together and work on their family, or it was around the time when they got an offer for a reality show, and obviously the reality show wouldn't have worked with them being separated, so they came back together just so they can do the show. And the intention was for them to go their separate ways, but then they didn't. They decided to work on their marriage. With this episode, you guys, I feel like it really was a confirmation for me that really that is a possibility, that these two came together just to work on the show. Remember, they're staying in that house in Sentin that the friend rented to them, but not really to them, to the production. And Nandi and her husband, there's a scene where she is sitting on her bed, and I think she was about to go to sleep, and her husband comes and he's complaining about a back, because apparently he has a really bad back pain. And they talk about how he does not sleep in their bedroom. He does not sleep in their bedroom. He sleeps in the couch. So it made me feel like, were they really working on their marriage, or really the whole time the intention was, we will shoot the show together, do the best that we can to give them a good show, and then after that you are going to leave. So now in this episode, he's complaining about his back, and he says that he thinks that the couch is what caused him the back pain that he's having, and apparently it's very serious. And it's very serious. At some point they had to get him a wheelchair because he couldn't walk because of the pain in his back. Now, Nandi says that at first I felt like she wasn't taking it serious, that, Rev is sick. And she was like, she feels like he just wants to come back to their bed, to their bedroom. By the way, you guys, the bedroom is nice. That house that they live in is very nice. So, and the furniture is nice. And I kind of feel like some of the furniture items have changed from the first episode, from what we saw in the first episode, because I felt like when we first saw their bedroom, they did not have that headboard that we saw this week. So I do wonder, you guys, I'm wondering, did they buy furniture? But at the same time, I'm thinking, when they were getting evicted, we never saw any of that nice furniture that we are seeing in the house. We never saw it being thrown out. We just saw old furniture, old mattresses, old clothes, and all of that. We did not see any of the furniture. So I'm just wondering. I don't know if it's just me who was not paying attention. So yes, you guys. So umfundisi uyagula. Nandi seems to believe that it's anxiety. Like when he's having anxiety about something, it always turns physical. And so he feels like he is dealing with something, and if she is feeling like he is dealing with something, and she's starting to feel like she doesn't know if she's the person that can help him. Now, you guys, with me having said that, I think that they might have come back together to do the show. I think that once they were together, there are certain points where they are really considering getting back together, even though they know that they are toxic together. But there are times when I feel like they are kind of trying. But there's also an element of it when I'm like, I'm just wondering if they are not just trying to give us a good show. So remember that I did a video where I was talking about how Nandi and the Rev revealed that at some point they decided that they were going to go their separate ways. They broke up. The pastor went and lived with this widowed church goer or church mates, a woman who had lost her husband, stayed with the pastor. The pastor is saying that woman was just helping him. There's nothing between them, but Nandi seems to believe otherwise. Apparently, there was money at the time that Umfundisi had received, and he had left with that money, and Nandi was left with the kids behind. And the family Nandi believes Umfundisi took the money. Umfundisi is saying, no, that wasn't the case. I used to send Nandi money. It's just that she did not have control over it because I wasn't around her. So I will send her just enough as far as I thought. I guess whatever amount Umfundisi thought was enough to take care of the kids, she would send to Nandi. But Nandi, I guess she wasn't communicating that to the family because the family is still angry at him for living with the money and eating the money away from Nandi. Now, that made me think twice about that whole situation because remember, Nandi recently received imali. They did not say where the money came from. I don't know if it's for the show because I don't know. With reality TV shows, I never really know when they get paid. I remember when they were explaining it's for the Moja Love show, like they would shoot and finish shooting, and after they finish shooting, once the show is on TV, they will be getting paid per episode. So when the episode plays, then they get money for that episode. The episode plays, then they get money for the episode. So I don't know how with the other reality TV shows how that works. So I don't know if it will make sense if they were receiving money for the show while they are still shooting the show and they are not done shooting the show. But then when I think about it, where else could the money be coming from? Or maybe from social media, if she is making some money from social media, maybe from social media, I don't know. But it was enough for her to go and buy the kids clothes. Even her, she's been wearing clothes that we don't know, like nicer clothes. Okay, I feel like they went shopping with the kids. And they did not shop for the Rev. And remember when I did my video last time, I said, I don't know if they should have bought clothes for the Rev, but the Rev was not happy about the fact that everybody was bought clothes but him. Now, I started thinking about that when they were talking about him living with the money and going and spending it with other people, that, okay, this is what they do in their relationship. When one gets money, they decide what they're going to do with the money without the other one. So they don't sit down and decide, it's okay, now we receive this money, what do we do? Because I think that they are in the situation where they should do that. I feel like accommodation should be number one. Because they have kids. Whether you are going somewhere to rent, whether you're going somewhere to buy, whether you're going somewhere, but accommodation should have been number one when they got whatever money that they got, because they knew very well that they were not going to be in that house for long. You cannot afford a house in Senton. They were talking about like 45,000 rands a month when the articles came out that she had been kicked out. You cannot afford this house. So at some point you're going to have to move out because there's no way that you're going to be able to afford 45,000 rands a month. Now, accommodation should be fair. So I feel like they should have sat down and be like, how do we use this money so that we make sure that our kids have accommodation, but that accommodation is close enough to the school that they go to, And then I feel like food should be next. I feel like they have to make sure that there's always food. I've hardly seen Nandi cook in that kitchen, or even the pastor cook in that kitchen. So I'm like, are they a family level that doesn't really cook that much? They always get takeaways. I don't know. Food should have been nice, and then school for the kids. How are the kids going to get to school? I feel like the clothes, yes, the kids were looking like they might need clothes, but it also could be that they've been moving a lot. So when you move, some of your stuff gets left behind and whatever, Yes, the kids did look like they could use some new clothes, but I feel like accommodation and food should have been the first that they should have thought about before clothes. But Nandi thought clothes, and then the next one was the car. Because in this episode, she shows up at home with the car. Now, she says that she borrowed money from one of her friends. I was like, listen, I obviously need good friends, because none of my friends would help me. None of my friends would buy me a car. None of my friends would help me to buy a car. They would probably help me buy the food. If I called my friends and I said, my kids haven't eaten, I haven't eaten, they would probably, offer me some food or go buy my go buy me and my kids some food. But I don't think that any of my friends would be worried about me if I said, yes, guys, I think we need a car. I think me and my family needs a car. They'd be like, listen, the taxis, the buses, the taxis, the buses, and if you have 100 rand or 150, then, Uber or Bolt or something, I don't know. But that's what she said. She said she has good friends, so the good friends have helped her to buy the car. I'm like, but with this you need to be able to know when your next check is coming and how much that check is. So I'm just thinking, if the money they are using now is borrowed, well, now I mean on the show, because now you guys, we have Nandi and the Rev on the show, and then we have Nandi on the Rev on social media, which is another show in itself. So now, okay. So Nandi buys gets the car. If the money that they are using with the car and the clothes is borrowed, that means that by the time the money from the show comes, then they would have to pay people. And then what happens? And I think that car is still there because Nandi is still driving now on social media. She's still driving that car that was on the show, if I'm not mistaken. So the car must have saved. So how did they buy? Unless, you guys, there is another way that this family is making money that they're not revealing to us on the show. But it looks like there are two people that are unemployed, but they are not living the life of people that are unemployed. I don't know how that works. And also the kids look like they go to one of those schools where a kid is not allowed at the gates when they haven't paid school fees for the month, or kind of a thing. Now, you guys, remember, I got off track actually because I wanted to talk about when they decided to go their separate ways. And the pastor went and stayed with the widow, spent his money on himself. And then during that time, since he was with the widow, Nandi also got together with somebody. That person wanted to marry Nandi, or that person wanted to marry. That's what Nandi says. And to avoid that pressure of him wanting to get married, she was like, you know what, let's just get each other's tattoos, because the man was asking, when are you divorcing your man? I hope that it wasn't a Nigerian. I don't know why. What makes me think it's a Nigerian? I don't know. But the person wanted to marry Nandi. Nandi was like, you know what, let's just go get each other's names tattooed on our bodies. They did that. She tattooed his name. He tattooed her name. Then they broke up, I guess, when she decided to get back together with, husband. Now, you are back with your husband, but you have another man's tattoo on your arm. That is Nandi. And obviously the Rev had an issue with that. So Nandi in this episode went to a friend. Remember the friend that they went out with the last time to get the tattoo covered, because she's not removing it, she's getting it covered. So she's going to turn it into something different. And I think she did half of it. If you see Nandi on the diary session, she's already covered all of it. But in this episode, she did half of it, and then she's supposed to do the rest. And when she showed the pastor was happy, which anybody would be happy with somebody removing that. But it's very weird that that name was tattooed on her when she was still married to the Rev. I guess they really thought they were getting a divorce. I don't know, you guys. But it was weird for her to keep that tattoo when now she was trying to get back together with, her husband. I do think that Nandi, in her way, ngendlela yakhe, uyamthanda pastor, and I do think that she does want their marriage to work. It's just that Nandi doesn't do izinto the way that people would typically do things, So she said that she wanted to show him, she's serious about them really trying and getting back together. The weird scene was when Nandi was talking about the man that she was with. It was almost like there is something that happened in that relationship that wasn't positive, because she was talking about how she feels like it was the Rev's fault that she ended up in that relationship, and that she was feeling vulnerable, so vulnerable at that time that she ended up in this relationship. So I was like, I just wanted to know more about that, what happened in that relationship, And she got emotional when she was talking about that, talking about the fact that had the Rev not left her, she would not have gotten in that relationship, which makes me feel like she regrets getting into that relationship. Is she regretting it because she was still a married woman, or is she regretting it because it became a negative thing? I don't know, you guys. So many things happen in relationships, so it just left me wondering what happened with that relationship. Now, you guys, remember, Nandi's trying to convince Rev that the best way or the best thing for them to do right now is to start their own church, because it's been 3 years since he was kicked out of the church. They are not talking about him coming back as an employee of the church. They should just start their own church. They will have their own rules and all of that. I don't know about having umamfundisi who swears as much as Nandi swears on social media. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I'm already very, very selfish about my Sundays. Okay, so I don't know if I want to wake up on a Sunday and go spend my Sunday with umamfundisi othukana njengo Nandi, but I guess some people might just want to. Okay, just want to join Nandi's church. The Rev, you guys, was very clear to say he does not think that it is his calling to plant a church, which I thought, yeah, because that is not everybody's calling. Not everybody is called to be a pastor, and not everybody is called to be a pastor that plants churches. So Nandi decided that it's going to be her project. So I don't know if she is called to plant churches, but she's planting a church in Sentin. What doesn't make sense with planting a church, they're starting a church there, is the fact that they know any reasonable person in Nandi's situation, the situation that we know on the show, in reality, it might be different from the situation we know on the show. Any reasonable person would know for sure that accommodation is temporary. There is no way that they are going to be able to stay in Sentin on a permanent basis. So if you start a church in Sentin, you're going to be there for at most 4 weeks. So, and then what? And then what's going to happen with the people that came to the service and they really, really liked it, and then what? If you end up moving to a different neighborhood. That is the thing for me that I did not see how it was going to work. I feel like starting a church might not be a bad thing, but I don't know how you can start another Methodist. it's Methodist. Yes, it's the Methodist. They read and yes. So how are you going to start another? Because you can't be a branch off because they don't want you. So I feel like they should just start a new church, new uniform, new memorandum of whatever. They just start afresh, register a new organization, register a new church, and But you guys, Umfundisi wants them to change the name, but Nandi wants them to keep the name, the Methodist of whatever, South Africa, or whatever the church is called that they used to go to. She wants them to keep that name. I don't know how it's going to work. So is it going to be a branch of Kanjani? Because if the church is going to have a branch in a certain place, the leaders will decide that they're going to have a branch there. So, but now, how is it going to work? That part of it, I don't understand. I also don't feel like it's going to work because soon they're going to be moving from that place. But nonetheless, Nandi is moving ahead. She went and invited people, gave people the pamphlets for the invite to the church service. She got the tent, she got the chairs. Obviously, Nandi has money right now because she was able to get the tent, got the chairs. Maybe she told the production, listen, I won't continue shooting the show unless you paid my money in advance or something. Got the tent. Excuse me. And now they're preparing the tent because people are supposed to come. And it's a Sunday already. Food is supporting the idea, but almost not 100%. He doesn't see how it's going to work. And he's supposed to be. So Mfundisi is going to be Nandi Paz employee at the church because the church belongs to Nandi. It's a good idea, you guys, if it was thought out completely, all angles of it. So now the episode ended when they are still preparing for the service and they think people are about to come. I don't know who's going to come, but maybe people are going to come to the service. Mfundisi is supposed to prepare the sermon, but he's saying he hasn't prepared the sermon. And when he's seeing everything now starting to come together, now he complains that he can't preach without a pulpit, So I don't know, you guys. I just feel like Nandi's husband wants to go back to his church, and he wants nothing else but his church. I think even if you offered him a job that pays really, really well, he will find a way to say no, he cannot do it. Even if another church offered him a position, he will find a way to say no because he wants to go back to that church where the widow is. Where the widow is. So yes, you guys, that's what's going on.